Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Angela with Anonymous No More. And today I have the honor and pleasure of being here with Judy Keating. And I'm going to let her kind of do a brief introduction about who she is and what she's all about.
Hi, Angela. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of the Anonymous No More introductory series. I am a personal development geek. I have been in the work of personal development very strongly for the last 25 years. And it has led me into some really great arenas to discover how we can up-level our consciousness and through that up-level everything that we do in our life. So I've done work around the elements. I'm a certified master grief coach. I've done work in facilitation for probably the last 8 years in circles that are called Priestess. That is an energy that was channeled by a woman by the name of Nicole Christine. I'm an author of co-author of 2 books. I run 3 businesses, but my jam, if you were to say that, is to empower people, women included, but to empower people through helping them to understand that they're creating in every moment of their lives. And if they align themselves with transformation as opposed to change, they can find the wave of ease and flow and rightness in their life. And that's what I love to do.
That's pretty cool when you explain it like that and go into detail with concentrating on the change and the transformation process. That's pretty cool. I like that. So Anonymous No More is about getting the opportunity to connect with other women, specifically to help uplift and empower one another, and in particular talking about things that gives women a voice, so that they're stepping out of playing the anonymous role where they have no voice and they're kind of behind the background. And with all your work, and I actually chose this particular topic for you, Judy, because I knew most of the things that you did, just because of your, I guess, leadership within my own personal development and transformation. So with that being said, why do you think it's important for women to call back their power and find their voice in today's world? Because we have changed, but it's still needed.
Yes. So we are in a tremendous chaos phase of change. And chaos in my world used to mean, that disarray, that discordant energy of, oh, everything's going to fall apart. Well, yes, it is. And that's what's happening. We're in the fall apart phase. And chaos actually doesn't mean what we've assigned to it. Chaos means in one definition, it's primordial space, according to Richard Rudd. In another definition I've heard, it's the falling away of structures that no longer work. And it's that space between when that falls away and the new structures get built. So I believe we're in a chaos phase. And actually, women are more attuned to working in this particular energy. And so this is a perfect time for women to get centered inside themselves and listen to that quiet voice that tells them, this is why you're here. And through listening to that and getting support through groups like yours, Angela, where it is safe for them to speak their truth, to share their gifts, to work in a community that is supportive and loving, will enable them to step outside of that community with renewed vigor, with renewed life force, with renewed faith, so that they can make the contribution that they were born to make. because there is no greater sorrow than being at the end of your life and going, I wanted to give this and I never did. So I think it's really important because the world needs the feminine perspective, the feminine ability to relate, the feminine way of organizing systems that are best for the whole rather than the individual. And it's those unique gifts of the feminine that I feel are so needed now. So we have to find ways to realize that if it is to be, it is up to we.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. You know, let me ask you just a question, because I'm trying to allow the interviews to kind of flow organically after the initial topic. So what comes to mind when you talk about the feminine? Women are more attuned to working with the energy that we're right now in, with the chaos that's building up and everything kind of falling apart. There In my trainings and education with working inside the Akashic Records, there's actually a soul group. I'm not going to go into the definition of it, but there's a soul group that actually um, changed and evolved so much so quickly in technology and the way that they did things that they actually blew themselves up. Do you think that if we continue the path that we're on right now with the political structures and belief patterns and all that, that we're headed in that direction?
Well, that's a really great question. And what I would say is the intelligence of the ego, which is more the intelligence of perfection, which is more machine and computer driven, is not as vast, as immense, as creative, and as unique as a human mind. The brain, in a sense, is a computer, but the mind is not. And the feminine mind is more right brain, more intuitive, solves problems at their core rather than at their symptom. You know, I really respect a lot of what Marianne Williamson said on the debate stages around the systematic things that are wrong, and that unless we get to the root of the problem and really look the problem in the face, the truth of it, that we can't solve problems. I mean, Albert Einstein said no problem can be solved at the same place it was created from.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like women are much better at understanding the big picture from a solution standpoint. They're much more interested in finding the solution. You know, when you think about women and families, I know, you know, you have children, and I know there have been times when you have directed your children in a way that didn't necessarily solve the immediate problem, but built them to solve the problem for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So the greatest thing that women can do to empower themselves is to take time, take quiet to answer this great question by Michael Beckwith, which is, what wants to emerge from me? And just keep asking that question. What wants to emerge from me?
I think I think you most people, I'm not going to say most people because days are changing and people are going through an awakening process and stuff like that. But at a greater magnitude than what they were, say, 5 years ago. Or at least
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm seeing. But a lot of people, myself included, until I actually woke up and said, I can't take this anymore, I have to make changes, they don't take
Mm-hmm.
time to be quiet, and especially women taking the time to do self-care, self-nurturing, things that, feed their heart and their soul. And yes, we do live in this age where a lot of people um, talk a lot of things about personal development, and most of us, the first thing we do is like, I'm not paying anybody to go through personal development, I'm going to do it myself. um,
Uh-huh.
which I think is really crazy. But in my training too, and things that I've researched and everything, there's one in particular thing that stands out, because at the when you say the greatest thing a person can do, especially women, to empower themselves is to go within, take time, be quiet, and ask what wants to emerge from me. That's actually not really personal empowerment. That's actually connecting with your soul. And I think that is the root to everything, is getting a connection back to the innermost part of us as human beings, which would be our spirit, our soul.
Well, and leadership and power doesn't have to look like I'm in charge. I think that energy of I'm in charge as a leader and power is falling apart. And new energy is trying to be birthed, which is heterarchy. And heterarchy is the energy of there is no leader. We all contribute at the right time in the dance of co-creation. And so the reason that quiet is so important is when you think about life, even a few hundred years ago, we had no devices that were giving us light unless it was the sun or a candle. And so we were attuned to the natural rhythms of the rising of the sun, the setting of the sun. We weren't trying to have us be on, meaning solar focused, outward focused, 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
We had a natural system built in where there was that natural going inward in the evening when you couldn't read a book, you couldn't watch TV, you couldn't look at your phone. You were with your family and you were in a space of quieting down. And it's really interesting. Our puppy has taught us this. So we do this at night. We turn the lights out. We sit down with her and we have this quiet time where we get to go within. We might watch TV, we might read books, but we're much more quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the natural rhythm of things for us to have that quiet time in the evening where we're not constantly doing things. And so I want to address something here. I know that women with children and with jobs, and there's all kinds of time constraints. I'm going to give you one tool that you can use. And Richard Rudd, who wrote a beautiful body of work called The Gene Keys, calls it a pause. I've done work with some really wonderful people, and Michael Trotta is another name I want to mention. He wrote a book called Sit Spot. But time is a man-made concept, meaning assigning the 24 hours to the day and having things be scheduled. That's a man-made thing. You can actually elongate your experience of time if you take several pauses in your day. And women in general say, oh, I'll do that later. They postpone the present. So a pause is just taking 3 minutes, stop unloading the dishwasher, take 3 minutes and sit down and just pause. You don't have to do anything in the pause, just stop. And if you stop and then you get up again, you'll notice that when you go to do the task, you're doing it more efficiently, your mind isn't racing. You're completing the task and moving into the next thing much smoother. So I believe that one of the things women can do to reconnect to their unique power, which is that balance between action and rest, light and dark, giving and receiving, is giving themselves these pauses in the day, because what it does is it resets your electromagnetic system. Even if it was just a minute, doesn't even have to be 3 minutes, just a minute. Take a minute 5 times a day. There isn't anybody who can convince me they don't have 5 minutes. You could try.
It's making yourself do it. That's the
Right,
thing. It's making yourself do it. Before we jumped on today, everything was flowing really nicely, and I started working on, all my new creations and stuff that I was telling you about, and time slipped by and I'm going, oh my gosh, I have 30 minutes to prepare for my interview. And then then after that, I jump right into another appointment. So scattered because I lost track of time and I didn't take a moment to really kind of look at everything this morning before I just dove in.
So I have a question. When you lost track of time, what were you enjoying what you were doing?
I absolutely was.
That right there, you could not have proved my point. We could end the interview right now. Focus on where you lose track of time rather than where you're late.
Yep.
That example right there is exactly what I'm talking about. The male-driven, solar-driven, and I'm not. The divine masculine is wonderful, and as Angela knows, I firmly believe that we have a divine masculine and a divine feminine within, and that they have divine sacred union. There's a time where I have to go, push, be outward driven. But if I don't balance that with the things that fill me up, the things that make my sense of time go away, then I am not giving myself key nutrients to my creativity, to my ability to understand what is really true for me, and to not live in an old story. Meaning that when we were young, we may have learned a coping mechanism. As an example, if I just stay on top of things, I won't get yelled at. And that's still running in the back of your head. Means you're constantly going because you're not even aware that your unconscious is telling you just keep going and you won't get yelled at because you don't hear it. Mm-hmm. So these little pauses in the day just give you a chance to stop, be present in your body, and just take a tiny mini rest to just say, I'm just going to pause. Just try it and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about the priestess process and the global goddess gathering with this next question or story. When I first ventured into the path of the priestess with you and our dear friend Bonnie, I didn't know what I was getting into. A lot of things didn't make a whole lot of sense. In fact, I don't know if you remember in the introduction meeting, we pulled the cards from the elemental deck and I had like the divine masculine. I'm going, I have no idea what that is. So where would you suggest for people that have, we're talking about the masculine, the feminine, and we all have it. Where would you suggest in your own experience to kind of set someone up to experience it, to work with those two different energies? Because, it's funny that this came up because I had a conversation about it yesterday at lunch about noticing or how to work with the different energies, because mine are reversed. I have a masculine Mars and a feminine Mars and a masculine Venus. And about how to work. And I'm like, how do I step into my feminine aspect if it's actually masculine energy? And it's about being, the warrior goddess, stepping into that warrior goddess energy.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you suggest to get someone started into working with the different energies within their own individual aspect, or getting comfortable with working with them?
Well, there's a couple of different things I would suggest, and I want to sort of unpack what Angela just shared so that you understand what she just said.
Sorry.
The elemental forces of earth, air, water, and fire, and spirit. Spirit being the center. Earth and water being along this axis, okay, which is more of the being aspect, embodying your feelings. The earth realm is about embodiment. It's about structure and form. It's about being able to care for everything that is physical in your life. The water realm is the emotional realm. And, if you think about what women are good at, women are good at creating systems and structures to take care of a vast amount of things all at the same time. Children, career, home, husband, nurturing everything in the house, cats, dogs, plants, sort of all at the same time, and then having another part of themselves where they're out creating new things in the world. So that requires earth. Being emotionally intelligent, meaning that you are aware of your feelings and you can be intuitive and compassionate towards others so you can feel their feelings and help your children and sometimes your spouse and sometimes your families navigate deep emotional waters because you've become familiar with what the feelings are inside of you. That's the feminine axis. The masculine axis, which is the mental axis, which it's so much more than mental. It's imagination, it's vision, it's dreams, it's angels, it's everything in the vibrational world is the air realm. When you think about the birds and the leaves blowing and the wind, it's just a vast, but it is more the head. Okay, if I were to, earth is more the rest of the body, but the head is more air. And then fire is that action transformation realm. It's the realm of making stuff happen through effort and through movement. And you can have inner fire by looking on the inner through illumination and transformation. So these elements, what Angela was telling you was that her inner feminine was on the masculine axis of air, fire, and her inner masculine was on the feminine axis of water, earth. I believe one of the greatest things that people can do is you can have what's called a creation team reading, and I can help you with that, or Bonnie can help you with that. You can send me an email at judy@wisetransformation.com and I can get you set up with a reading. And what I would say is just being out in nature is one of the best ways that you can get in touch with your own inner masculine or inner feminine, because this is probably one of my most favorite quotes ever. Nature never hurries, yet everything gets accomplished. So there's many different ways you can tap into our community. The Priestess community is a group of women who have committed to doing at least one 9-month journey where they go very much on the inner and discover the connection of earth, air, water, fire, and spirit within. They become their own channel of direct connection to the divine. And we are having a gathering of women the end of April, And you can find information about that at naturalrhythmsrevolution.com. It's called the Global Goddess Gathering. You don't need to have done Priestess, but if what I'm saying is resonating with you, there are a group of women, some from out of this country, who are coming to gather to learn about what can women do in this new decade in 2020, because all the hierarchical structures are falling apart, and it's the circle energy of heterarchy where everyone makes their contribution that is here now. You can sense it. So that's why being a part of a community like Anonymous No More is important, because you were being asked to step into the circle and give your gifts.
Mm-hmm. To share. Yeah, I love the way that you explained, the elements, and made a little bit more sense of what I was talking about, so people would understand. But, I think it's a powerful process. I did it. I loved it. A lot of things didn't click until later on and after the process, I think. But, we talked about, mentioned time, and I struggled with time that first year of Priestess process when we had to write a story. So taking that pause helps to actually allow the pieces to fit, I think. And I think, being in nature, that's just the quote that you shared with this, if you don't mind repeating it again, that's very, very powerful. And it plugs everything in that you spoke about today. It plugs in taking that pause and connecting with that feminine energy. And please repeat the quote, because I'll get it wrong.
Nature never hurries, yet everything gets accomplished.
That's beautiful. Do you know who said that?
I don't have the attribution, but I will make a point of going on the Facebook page and putting it up with the attribution.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and then when I get the interview up and posted, if you want to go in and put the a link or something for the Global Goddess Gathering or Natural Rhythms website, please feel free to do that.
Oh, thanks, Angela.
Yeah, and then the book too that you recommended earlier, the Sit Spot, that was actually a gift from you during the Priestess process, and that would be perfect for someone who wants to connect, and start making the practice of bringing in the pause and connecting with nature. I think, because that's all around does it for you.
Well, and I can tell you from my own experience, the Sit Spot book, I trained with Michael Trotta, who's the author of the book, and Martha Beck in something called nature-based coaching. And we were required to go outside and sit on the ground for 20 minutes a day in the same spot if we could. And I was one of those very hesitant kind of people, and I tentatively raised my hand and said, "Can I sit on a chair?" And they said, "If you must. If that's the only way you'll go outside, then I'll let you sit on a chair, but I encourage you to sit on the ground." And I did that practice for more than 30 days. But I have to tell you that during that 30-day process, I was working 60 hours a week. I was taking nature-based coaching, as I was explaining to you. I was writing a chapter in a book. I was in physical therapy 5 days a week. And I am absolutely certain that if I did not have Sit Spot in my routine, and ladies, some nights it was out at 11 o'clock at night, I couldn't lie down until I'd done my 20 minutes outside. And that process opened me up to the fact that the constraints that we put on ourselves are all brain made. They're not mind made, they're brain made. Meaning believing that time is limited. No, time can drop away. Angela just gave us an example. Time can stop. When we're doing our right thing in life, or we're enjoying our family or enjoying nature, time stops. That pause that I'm asking you to do is a stopping of time. Try it on. Let us know how it helps you.
Mm, spot on. Yes. Um, I think that covers it. That was wonderful and powerful information that you shared with us, Judy, today. But any final thoughts or anything else that you would like to share to the community?
I'm just very happy to be a part of what Angela's creating, and I look forward to hearing not only other women in the interview series, but meeting some of you maybe at a gathering.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Judy, for
You're welcome.
bringing your wisdom and your beauty and energy into the group and sharing so much of that with us here today. And with that, Judy, if you want to hang on just a minute, I'm going to stop the recording. So thank you guys. Thank everyone for listening in. And I hope that you take Judy's recommendations and take that pause and maybe invest in sit spot and get connected with nature. But until next time, thank you so much. And let's all join hands and work on empowering each other as we become anonymous no more.